Hey, what's up everyone, it's Steph from Steph Lee Films. We are finally back here in our studio with a little bit of renovation after 2 episodes of On The Job where I showcased my setup and gave some tips on how to live stream for weddings and corporate events. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please do so. Remember there was a video which I uploaded about 2 months back when Blackmagic Design released the ISO version just some 3 months after the Pro version, and I did a video on my initial thoughts about it. And as expected, there were lots of comments about that video, most of it positive. However, there were also some viewers disagreeing on that, and some even said I was bitter because I bought the Pro and then the ISO came out. Well, I don't usually respond on video to comments, but just to put these comments to bed, I do have both the Pro version and the ISO version, which I'm recording the video right now. And today I'll be giving an in-depth review of the ISO version with very little reference to the Pro version in order not to be biased, and of course a little comparison and my own thoughts at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's first grab a bitter lemon and dive right in. So the first feature of the ISO model that strikes out and appeals to many users out there is the ability to do ISO recording, which basically means isolated input recordings. And this translates to the upgraded recording capability of the ATEM Mini switcher. They have redesigned the circuit boards within the switcher, so now you can do 5 separate recordings or up to 5 separate recordings inside the switcher in the high quality H.264 format. This means if you have 4 separate cameras in sources 1, 2, 3 and 4, it takes each source and records it into the ATEM Mini switcher via the USB-C port. It also records your images from the media pool into a separate folder that you can access in post. This feature is super useful for your post-production. Let me share some real-life experience with you. As you all should know by now, I'm a full-time wedding videographer and I run a separate company under SL Productions that handles mainly corporate clients. So many times in my videos, I will share with you what it's like dealing with real-life scenarios, real clients and real customers, not just paper tutorials on YouTube. So many clients usually require a copy of the live stream after the event so that they can put it up on their website or in their archives to be made watchable in future. So with the new ISO model and all the individual ISO recordings, you can be sure you have the full videos from each camera. So how useful exactly is this function in your workflow? Okay, for example, if during your live stream you realize that the cuts are too abrupt, cutting off too early before a speaker finishes talking, you can edit it in post to cut later to make your output video look more presentable. So before you start recording, make sure you have this feature enabled. Go to your ATEM software control panel, under switcher and output, click on record stream and check ISO record all inputs. Then key in the file name for this folder. So for our intro, which I did earlier, now I go back to my MacBook, I can see the folder with all the individual subfolders of my sources. I have cameras 1, 2, 3 and 4 here. As you can see, I have all the recordings from sources 1, 2 and 3, but 4 is empty because I did not plug in any source to it. If you played media files on source 4, they will appear here. Another useful purpose of this is that since you have a full recording of all the individual separate sources, you can even do a trimmed version of the live event that you did earlier, picking up short clips from different angles from different cameras for probably that 1-minute Instagram wedding video that you have shot for your client, or 1-minute trimmed version of that corporate video which just ran a couple of hours ago. All the video clips are nicely divided into the named folders so you know which clips came from which camera. Another point to note regarding this, it is recorded in the H.264 format, which gives you a pretty high quality video in relation to the file size, which I think is most important for many videographers out there, the balance between video quality and file size. So as a comparison, before the start of this video, I actually inserted a SD card into Cam 1, which is recording right now, and now I have both the SD card's video recording as well as the recording from the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. You can see the quality is pretty comparable, but from the ISO's recording, the file size is way smaller. So for computers with lower specs and slower processing speed, this may actually come in handy and be useful during your editing. The second feature that makes the ISO model so desirable is the project file that is created after you're done recording the event. So what's this project file about? Check this out. When you click on the project file, it opens up in DAVINCI Resolve and nicely placed on the timeline. You can instantly work on your project like how you would if you dragged and dropped or imported the media onto the project timeline. Now the big question is, what if you don't use DAVINCI Resolve? For myself, I use Final Cut Pro. Simple. You can easily export this DAVINCI Resolve project file onto your other projects. And how do you do that? Go to Render Settings and look for Final Cut Pro 7. Click on the drop down and select Final Cut Pro X. Click on Browse and New Folder. For this, I will key in DAVINCI Resolve Renders and click Create. Then click Open. Then I will go down and select Apple ProRes 422. Once you're done, click Add to Render Queue and you'll see that the job is created on the render queue side. Start render. And the process will begin. Once you're done rendering, go to your folder, DAVINCI Resolve Renders, and you can see that the two project files are being exported as well. Also, the XML file. Then go to your Final Cut Pro and import this XML file into your project. Click Import. You will see that this DAVINCI Resolve export goes into your project. And you can find it here. You can see that all the project files here are neatly placed on your timeline, ready for editing. The third and last feature that I'm going to talk about is very simple. It is an ATEM Mini Pro by BLACKMAGIC design. End of explanation. I mean, you're here watching this video mainly for two reasons, right? Either you own a Pro version and is thinking of an upgrade to the ISO version, or you don't own any of the ATEM Minis and you're trying to see if you should get the Pro or the ISO version. Which means you already have sort of decided on getting the ATEM Mini. It's just whether you're getting the Pro, the ISO. And you would have already spent 1,583 hours reading up on this amazing device from forums, Facebook groups, websites, and all the information that you can get. All I can say is my own production quality increased multifold after I started to use this little buddy here. And you can watch how I do it in all the links here. Anyway, I just want to end off by saying if you have the extra $300 to spare, get the ISO version, as it will definitely increase the production quality and time saved in editing, which is money. However, my big disclaimer is you have to know what purpose you are doing live stream for. I've said this in my last video, and similarly 2 months and about 12 live stream events later, I stand by my point. My clients, be it weddings or corporate, generally don't require anything else other than the streamed event, which is available for download on the streaming platform when you host it. For example, YouTube, Facebook, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. From all these platforms, you can actually download the streamed event. Or you can use the recording function on the USB-C port, which exists on both the Pro version and the ISO version. In all my live streams, I've always put an SD card in all the cameras to record in-cam just as a backup. So a 256GB SD card on Amazon costs between $30 to $50, so you can get a couple of these to replace the ISO recording function. See, I'm a very practical guy and I like to count my numbers and make comparisons based on price versus value. So there you have it, an in-depth review and somewhat comparison of the ATEM Mini Pro version versus the ISO version. In summary, all I want to say is no matter which version you choose, ultimately you won't go wrong with either model. If you have the extra cash to spare, go for the ISO model. And pray Blackmagic Design doesn't come up with a newer model right after you hit the buy now button or when it arrives at your doorstep. If not, stick to the Pro version and you will be fine. And use the extra cash, like I recommended, to buy some memory cards and wait for the next model to be released. Hopefully with a dual USB-C port and the ability to split the HDMI output, one for multi-view and one for program view. In my opinion, these are the two most wanted features for the next upgrade. Before I end this video, I would like to say it really means a lot to me if you found the information useful and if you can give this video a like, so it encourages me to continue making such videos for you, or share it with your friends. On the other hand, if you dislike this video in any way, feel free to give a thumbs down, but you must let me know in the comments what you dislike, so I can continue to work on my future video content to bring you something that you like. If you want to learn more about photography and videography on this channel, or get tips to improve your ATEM Mini Pro or ATEM Mini Pro ISO setup, or if you just want to see more product reviews and unboxing, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell. And don't be bitter about anything. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know.